Let's start with our champions. At the top of the table, New Jersey, New York, Gotham FC. They somehow made it into the playoffs after barely getting there on decision day. They almost let it slip through their fingers. They were the sixth and final team to make it into the postseason. They go all the way, led by Ali Krieger and the momentum behind her to make it to the championship. They defeat OL Reign and they lift the trophy at the end of it. So with the new iteration this year of the Challenge Cup, the 2023 champions will play the 2023 Shield winners. So that is Gotham FC against San Diego. So Gotham is kicking off the NWSL season on Friday, March 15th at 8 o'clock Eastern. Their first regular season match will be the next weekend. But this is a team that, despite winning the championship under Juan Carlos Amaros Darian, has a lot of new players and they have a lot of new looks. We don't often see a lot of turnover from a championship season, but we do with Gotham.
Yeah, it's excuse me. I think it's going to be interesting. They obviously are star-studded. Crystal Dunn, Tierna Davidson, Emily Sonnet, Rose Lavelle, Macy Bell from the draft, Sam Hyatt from Seattle. This is going to be a crazy stacked team with what they already have. It's going to be interesting to see the chemistry. Sometimes you look at these teams that have all of these stars on them and it doesn't always pan out, but I think with Coach Juan Carlos Amaros, it will. We've seen interviews where players are expressing how much they've loved the creativity, the freedom, structure, but they're still able to express themselves on the pitch. It's gonna be interesting. I want to see how other teams match up against them as well. This is a scary team to go against. Even if you just start with the front six, it's basically the U.S. Women's National Team at this point. So it's gonna be interesting, but I'm excited for this season to see just how Gotham keeps building. You guys know I worked with them last year, and this team has made, and club in general has made, huge strides to make it more and more professional, and especially winning the championship. Let's see if they can hold on to it. But I don't know.
Darian, the front six being essentially U.S. Women's National Team starters, nonetheless, is that a pro or a con for this group?
It's a pro while they're there. And then when they leave, I don't know how they're going to make adjustments. There's going to be, a lot of fillers that they're going to have. They're going to have to rotate a lot to have players that can stay in that sort of consistency going into games when these players are gone. Because we know that we'll have games during that break for the Olympics if, a bunch of those players are chosen on that 18 for the U.S. Women's National Team with Emma Hayes. But it can be good and bad. I think it'll be great while they're there. But it's also, if you're one of those players that's not on the national team, it's tough to kind of sit back and not get that playing time and then suddenly be thrown into having to start and play 90 minutes, not only just for mental, emotional, but physically. That's a huge adjustment to make. So it's going to be interesting to see how Juan Carlos kind of rotates and adjusts time for it to make sense to last the entire season and for these huge gaps that these players are going to be missing.
I think we're going to get a pretty early taste of that. Actually, like, how is Gotham going to look and manage their superstar squad in an Olympic cycle? I mean, they've had to kind of balance that a little bit already. There's a number of players that were just competing with the United States in the Gold Cup, and there was a chunk of their players competing in preseason exhibition games and also the Women's Cup. So they technically already have a title checked off their box in 2024. Headed down to South America, went up against Deportivo Cali, then ended up beating Racing Louisville FC for the 2024 Women's Cup. And they already managed a little bit of that. But how's that going to look when it all kind of comes back together?
And they were light. I heard stories of people being there saying that Gotham's roster is pretty light at this point. They signed a 13-year-old for that preseason game, and so they were searching for players because of the international window.
Yeah, I'm eager to see the minutes management, like going into Challenge Cup. What's that going to look like? Especially with the knockout rounds that some of those international players had to carry on their legs. I think we're thinking about maybe Jenna Neiswanger specifically, who saw a lot of time with USA during this Gold Cup. Crystal Dunn, who's coming off of that finals appearance against Brazil. Tierna Davidson, who pretty much was the starting center back, really, especially in those knockout rounds as well. So how's it going to look? How's it going to feel? what are the plans for Juan Carlos Amaros, to kind of make sure that all of that there's a balance for everything and for everyone. Um, the whole we talk sometimes about the concept of a deep bench. I know last year we were very complimentary of teams in like the Portland Thorns or Seattle Reign. Even we talked about that a lot. How like a deep bench will get you far. Maybe Gotham's going to have to tap into that pretty early on in their season.
It's interesting as well when you think about some of the players that they traded away. It's I don't know. It's different to look at, I guess, because these players went through so many ups and downs with Gotham and got them the championship, and now they're gone. So you lose a lot of, I think, the heart of a team
That's fair.
when you get
Yeah.
rid of those players, or not get rid of, you trade them away. So I wonder just how it's going to look. How's the culture on the team going to be? I'm sure it'll be great because Juan Carlos is a great coach. These are great players that are coming there. But it does make a big change to that underdog mentality, I think,
Yeah.
that Gotham had from going last to first and everything that they
Yeah.
overcame last year.
That's a good
And
shout.
hungry dog, like underdog, having that mentality is very different. And they are not, they're not underdogs because they won, but also because of the makeup of Gotham's roster now, because they have
Yeah.
all these superstars and international players that have been to World Cups and won things at the highest level. I mean, Esther Gonzalez is still on this roster
Yep.
in the front line. So I think some of the players that they lost also lose a bit of the meat to this group. Of course,
Yeah.
Ali Krieger, who retired, Christy Mewis, who is no longer there, Mandy Haught, Ellie Jean, Ali Long, Amani Dorsey, Ife Anamanu. These are all players that helped make up the identity of this
Yeah.
Gotham squad. And now I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult for Juan Carlos to get back to that championship. It's hard to do back-to-back years in and of itself. And then B, they don't have this common, I don't know, thing to rally around, whether it's being
Yes.
an underdog, whether it's not being superstar players, right? They didn't have a lot of superstar players last year, whether it's not having someone like an Ali Krieger that you're like, I'm going to give you my all because I
we're doing this
respect
for you. Yeah.
We're doing this for you. It changes the entire dynamic. We almost have to look at Gotham as if they're a brand new team this year.
I mean, maybe they'll lean into, maybe this is the villain era, maybe they're going to lean into that. Maybe
like
they're going to
that.
lean into the super team concept. These are all kind of, maybe not so much the villain part, but the whole super team kind of concept, isn't one that we get to see too often in NWSL. I think we can point to maybe 1 to 2 teams in the now 12-year history of this league to where that existed. So maybe they'll lean into that. You know what? I'm here for it.